Hello, good evening and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Nadim Majid.
And I'm Florin Rajendran. Before going to the stories in detail, here's a look at tonight's headlines.
Visiting Indian Prime Minister receives a grand welcome in Colombo. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi makes history by becoming the first ever Indian Premier to address Parliament. 43 arrested Indian fishermen released. Investigations on 12 large-scale fraud. Brigadier found guilty of murdering his wife, sentenced to death.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was extended a warm welcome when he arrived in Sri Lanka early this morning. This is the first time in 28 years that an Indian Prime Minister has undertaken a bilateral visit to Sri Lanka.
A distinguished delegation led by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe greeted Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi when he arrived at the Katunayake International Airport at 5:30 this morning. Modi, who swept to victory at elections held last year, is considered a revolutionary leader and visionary reformist in regional politics. Political analysts have touted the visit of the Prime Minister of the regional power as being of immense importance to Sri Lanka. The Prime Minister was welcomed with much pomp and pageantry at the Presidential Secretariat premises later this morning under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena. He was accorded a Guard of Honour by the Navy and was also accorded a 19-gun salute.
The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to the premises of Presidential Secretariat and been welcomed by the Prime Minister of
President Sirisena and Prime Minister Modi held bilateral talks after the Cabinet of Ministers was introduced to him and the Indian delegation.
the traditional Sri Lankan dramas.
4 bilateral agreements on visa requirement exemptions for diplomatic and official passport holders, cooperation on customs matters, youth affairs development and the establishment of the Rabindranath Tagore Memorial Auditorium at the University of Ruhuna were signed today.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාව සහ ඉන්දියාව අතරේ පවත්නා සම්බන්ධතාවය
The relationship between Sri Lanka and India is one which dates back thousands of years. The Indian government and the Indian people have made great strides and achieved a high level of knowledge in technology. They have vast resources in a highly competitive world. The agreements that we are a developing country reach the technologically developed nations to increase our own knowledge in technology and in research. Training and physical resource development are exceedingly important. I can say that Prime Minister Modi's assumption of office has raised the bilateral relationship to a new level and has given it priority.
උසස් තත්ත්වයකට ප්‍රමුඛත්වයකට ඇති වුණා කියලා සඳහන් කරන්නට පුළුවන්. We are not just looking at addressing problems. We are also focusing on new opportunities. India stands ready to help Trincomalee become a regional petroleum hub. We will extend the facility of tourist visa on arrival electronic travel authorization scheme to Sri Lankan citizens from the Sinhal and Tamil New Year on 14th April 2015. Air India will soon start direct flights between New Delhi and Colombo. I also took this opportunity to convey our admiration for President Sirisena's effort to build an inclusive future for Sri Lanka. Conveyed our sincere support and good wishes for Sri Lanka's new journey of peace, reconciliation and progress. We stand with you in your efforts to build a future that accommodates the aspirations of all sections of the society, including Sri Lankan Tamil community, for a life of equality, justice, peace and dignity in a united Sri Lanka. We believe that early and full implementation of the 13th Amendment and going beyond it would contribute to this process.
The Indian Prime Minister later visited the Mahabodhi Agrashavaka Mahavihara in Maradana and paid homage to the sacred Agrashavaka relics. Prime Minister Modi was welcomed by the chairman of the Sri Lanka Mahabodhi Society, Venerable Banagala Upatisatthera, at the subsequent meeting.
With respect to the Mahabodhi Society, there will be a day that history will not erase. This year has been established as the year of Anagarika Dharmapala. Anagarika Dharmapala was born on the 17th of September. The Prime Minister Modi, who is visiting us today, was also born on the 17th of September. So his visit during this year is a great honor to us. The service rendered by Anagarika Dharmapala to Japan and India is immeasurable. We believe that as long as the leaves of the Sri Mahabodhi have life, our relationship with India will stay alive.
Venerable Banagala Upatisatthera also spoke in Hindi and interpreted Prime Minister Modi's address as well.
उनसे निवेदन करता हूँ आप एक शब्द बोलिए और उसका मैं सिंहली में उसका परिवर्तन करूँगा.
कहा जाता है कि विश्व में सबसे पुराना बौद्ध धर्म पर चलने वाला कोई अगर देश है तो वो देश श्रीलंका है. मैं हमेशा अनुभव करता हूँ कि आज विश्व जो संकटों से गुजर रहा है, जो आतंकवाद के छाए में देश दुनिया भयभीत होकर के जी रही है, बुद्ध का रास्ता ही है जो युद्ध से मुक्ति दिलाता है.
A commemorative 500 rupee denomination silver coin has also been issued in line with the 150th birth anniversary of Anagarika Dharmapala. Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake presented the first coin to the Indian Prime Minister. Well, turning another chapter in Sri Lanka's political history, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the Sri Lankan Parliament this evening. Incidentally, it was the first time in Sri Lankan history that an Indian Prime Minister has addressed the House of Legislature.
Previously, in 1962, Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi in 1973 and Sri Morarji Desai in 1979 addressed the Sri Lankan parliamentarians in their capacity as Prime Minister. However, it was only termed as a meeting of parliamentarians. It was Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi who was given the opportunity to address the MPs from within the parliamentary chambers.
The future that I dream for India is also the future that I wish for our neighbors. We in the region are on the same journey to transform the lives of our people. Our path will be easier, the journey quicker and destination nearer when we walk step in step. India and Sri Lanka do not have a land boundary, but we are the closest neighbors in every sense. It is reflected in the friendship of Swami Vivekananda and Anagarika Dharmapala, the founder of the Mahabodhi Society in Sri Lanka and India. Sri Lanka is a leader in advancing cooperation in South Asia, and it is important for the future of the Indian Ocean region. Sri Lanka's progress and prosperity is also a source of strength for India. So, Sri Lanka's success is of great significance to India. And as a friend, our good wishes, and our support and solidarity have always been with Sri Lanka. And it will be always be there for you. For all of us in our region, our success depends on how we define ourselves as a nation. We have successfully defeated terrorism and brought the conflict to an end. You now stand at a moment of historic opportunity to win the hearts and heal the wounds across all sections of society. Recent elections in Sri Lanka have reflected the collective voice of the nation, the hope for change, reconciliation, and unity. The path ahead is a choice that Sri Lanka has to make. And it is a collective responsibility of all sections of the society and of all political streams in the country. But I can assure you of this, for India, the unity and integrity of Sri Lanka are paramount. We hope that Sri Lanka will take full benefit of India's satellite for the SAARC region. This should be in space by December 2016. People are at the heart of our relationship. When we connect people, bonds between nations become stronger. The security of our two countries is indivisible. Equally, our shared responsibility for our maritime neighborhood is clear. India and Sri Lanka are too close to look away from each other, nor can we be insulated from one another.
I must tell Sri Narendra Modi that is an understatement, and at the moment you are seeing it in its most subdued hour. But that is the essence of democracy. We have the oldest parliament in Asia. Our history goes back to the Legislative Council of 1835. We are, in fact, two sides of the same coin, traveling on the same journey. Peace and prosperity for our people and security for the region. We have a common destiny. As you pointed out, we were the richest region in the world in the 16th century. We have to now achieve that again. And Indo-Lanka relations again will be the foundation stone of converting our region back into the prosperity.
Your visit to Sri Lanka heralds a new era of renewed Indo-Sri Lanka relations. Sri Lanka and India have a long history of close ties socially, politically, culturally, and economically, spanning over many centuries. You are a self-made man, worthy of emulation, and you are a glowing example to our politicians in Sri Lanka and also SAARC region. Without a family dynasty to back you, your inspiring journey to the office of the Prime Minister of Mahabharat, starting from a very humble beginning in Vadnagar, a rural town in North Gujarat. The secret of your great success is your simplicity, dedication, and determination, coupled with disciplined lifestyle, winning the hearts and mind of your people.
Subsequently, after leaving the chambers, the Indian Prime Minister was hosted to a tea reception with the MPs in Parliament.
Well, after addressing the Sri Lankan Parliament, Prime Minister Narendra Modi placed floral tributes to the War Heroes Memorial opposite the Parliamentary complex.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi also attended a business forum in Colombo this evening.
This forum was organized by the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce and also saw the participation of the Minister of Finance, Ravi Karunanayake.
The global confidence in India has been restored. The world's engagement with India is at a new level. But the first claim of us should be that of India's neighbors. And I'll be happy if India is a catalyst for economic growth in our own region. That is why I speak of a neighborhood where trade, investment, ideas, and people move easily across the borders. Sri Lankan business have shown that they can compete with the best in the world. Our garments and tea industry know that. We are pleased to be Sri Lanka's largest trading partner and one of its largest source of investment.
Now, 43 Indian fishermen in Sri Lankan custody were released in Trincomalee today in lieu of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the country.
These 43 fishermen who were arrested in the seas of Mullaitivu over the past month were released today on the orders of Trincomalee Chief Magistrate T. Saravanaraja. The magistrate also ordered the Sri Lankan Navy to escort these fishermen to the Indian maritime border from Kankasanture and hand them over to the Indian Navy.
Welcome back on to our developing story tonight. Chandra Jayaratne, a former chairman of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, says that the committee investigating the alleged fraud in a recent central bank bond issue must be reconstituted immediately. In a letter to President Maithripala Sirisena, Jayaratne says interested parties are not only attempting to frustrate the good intentions of the President's response action, but are in fact insulting his stated commitment and undermining the high esteem his citizens have in him and his government. In his letter, he questions, quote, are interested parties making a mockery of Yahapalane, unquote.
The former chairman of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce says the task of the inquiry panel is not to prosecute or prepare charge sheets for prosecution, nor even to examine contracts and interpret them in a legal interpretation. He adds that thus criminal and civil lawyers with no capability in the areas of banking, finance, macroeconomics, public finance management, securities and investments, trading and associated procedures, processes, controls, compliances, and international best practices will not be able to complete the task required to deliver a credible inquiry as one developed by persons with capability, independence and integrity of purpose. Chandra Jayaratne suggests that the inquiry panel be reconstituted with immediate effect to comprise of 4 members, a senior retired central bank officer, a senior retired treasury manager of a commercial bank, a chartered financial analyst, and a practicing chartered accountant. He adds that it is best that the central bank governor, whose purported related party interests are the subject of this inquiry, should demonstrate his personal commitment to the ongoing inquiry, preferably by taking voluntary leave of absence from official duties during the inquiry period. According to the Minister of Policy Planning and Economic Affairs, a meeting was held on the 26th of February concerning budgetary matters. A group including the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Higher Education, Highways and Investment Promotion, the Treasury Secretary and the Governor of the Central Bank were among those present at the meeting. Speaking to Newsfirst today, UNP Chairman Malik Samaravikrama confirmed that he too was present at the February 26th meeting. When questioned on in what capacity was he present, Samaravikrama noted that he attended the meeting in his capacity as a senior advisor to the Prime Minister. Samaravikrama noted that he did not discuss the bond issue, adding that the Prime Minister had appointed a committee to investigate the allegations and if anyone is found guilty, action will be taken.
වැදගත්ම ප්‍රශ්නය දැන් සාකච්ඡාවෙන් තියෙනවා ඒ තමයි
Now there are reports that Malik Samaravikrama, a frontline businessman who is also the chairman of the United National Party, attending this meeting. This is the main point that is being discussed. I am perplexed why he participated at this meeting. On one side he is the chairman of the UNP and on the other side he is a popular businessman. He also serves as an advisor to the Prime Minister. How can an individual of this caliber attend such a meeting? What was his role and mandate at this meeting? His role on this is very suspicious.
ඔහුගේ මැදිහත් වීම තුල තියෙන භූමිකාව කුමක්ද කියන එක පිළිබඳව බරපතල සැකසංකා මතුවෙනවා. ඒ මූල්‍ය ශේෂ්ත්‍රයේ ඉන්න විශේෂඥයන් ලව්වා කමිටුවක් හදලා
A committee should be appointed consisting of experts in the financial market. Based on the verdict of the committee, those who have committed any wrong should be punished. This bond should be cancelled or revoked. Until investigations into the transaction are completed, do not try to sweep this issue under the carpet. People will lose faith in the Yahapalanya for which they cast their ballot in favour. This has to stop.
යහපාලනය ඇති කිරීම සඳහා වෙච්ච විශ්වාසය අපේ සමාජයට අහිමි වෙලා යනවා. ඒ වහාම නැවැත්විය යුතුයි.
Today is 2 weeks since this controversial transaction took place, and it is the third day since the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka appointed a committee to look into the matter. As of today, we have no information as to the suitability of this committee to look into the matter. All we do know is that this committee consists of 3 lawyers who are known United National Party men. There is no information as to the cost of this committee and the timeline they propose to use. In the meantime, the additional debt continues. There is a growing call for this matter to be cancelled or revoked. But in the meantime, the marketplace is suffering from an utter lack of trust and credibility.
12 complaints received by the large-scale Financial Fraud Investigation Bureau were taken up today.
An investigation is underway into alleged irregularities during the construction of the Keravalapitia power station, which caused losses of $122 million. It has been revealed that although it was planned to construct the power station at a cost of $331 million, the project could have been completed at a cost of $210 million. An investigation is also underway into alleged fraud amounting to 65 million rupees at the Divinagoma department. It is believed that the money was spent on a national convention in November last year. Investigations have also been launched into the purchasing of aircraft.
An investigation is underway into alleged fraud amounting to 1.5 million rupees in the purchase of 4 passenger aircraft for the Air Force in 2006. Various individuals have been called and statements have been recorded in connection with each of these investigations. When investigations conclude, future action will be taken based on the instructions of the Attorney General.
Now, a file consisting complaints against the Ministry of Education was presented to the Secretary to the Ministry by JVP Provincial Councillor Nalinda Jayathis today.
The JVP Provincial Councillor were obstructed by security personnel from entering the Ministry premises.
ජනතාවගේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් කියන්න අමාත්‍යාංශයට යන්න බැරි නම් මොකක්ද මේක වෙන්නේ? අපි දන්නවා ඒක. වාහනයක් ගියාම නම් අපි මන්දික වලට වාහන යන්න දෙනවා. තවම ඇමතිවරයා සහ අධ්‍යාපන අමාත්‍ය
Even though the minister and the secretary have been replaced, the employees working in the lower order do not comprehend the 100-day program. We vehemently condemn the attempts made to prevent it.
Subsequently, the file consisting the complaints were handed over to the secretary of the ministry.
We arrived at the ministry today to hand over a file consisting all the complaints lodged with the committee to look into incidents where people were subjected to political revenge and various acts of injustice. During the Mahinda Rajapaksa administration, most of the complaints lodged were against the Ministry of Defence. The next highest number of complaints were lodged against the Ministry of Education. These complaints, which were against former Minister of Education Bandhana Gunawardena, citing discrepancies in the admission of students, appointment of principals and teachers, was handed over to the Secretary of the Ministry today.
The JVP alleges the further delay in investigations continues to strengthen the corrupt. The JVP made this allegation at a public rally in the Valekare area in Badulla.
නිසි ක්‍රමවේදයට හොරු අල්ලනු ලැබේ. කිව් පලියට අල්ලන්න බෑ. පැමිණිලි තිබුණු පලියට අල්ලන්නට බෑ.
Rogues will be nabbed according to the proper procedure. You can't limit this to mere words and complaints. Once you dial 119, the police arrives, nabs the rogues and keeps them. If you are providing details to the Bribery Commission, the IGP and the Supreme Court, why even after the lapse of 63 days, no one has been nabbed? They say that rogues will be nabbed according to the proper procedure. Robes are banding together and are being strengthened. Some are not even in the country while others are in hiding. This is wrong.
ඕක යහ නෙවෙයි. ඕක වහා.
In other local news, Elections Commissioner Mahinda Deshapriya exchanged views with students of the Sri Lanka Law College today over the procedures that were followed at the concluded presidential election.
The only thing I did was create a public view that the people could exercise their franchise as per their will without fear. This view was held across the country. This is our view. No matter who wins or loses, the people must have the freedom to exercise their franchise as per their will.
නිදහසේ ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න ඉඩ දෙන්න ඕන.
Parliament is appointed through elections. Elections are held at the polling centres. So when trouble is caused at a polling centre, what can you do but shoot? The word computer Jilmart is a total myth. The result comes when it is collected and the result is also sent externally. We only use computers as adding machines. Views were also expressed on changes to the position of Elections Commissioner with future amendments. I need to get my pension too. The position of Elections Commissioner will go away. A Commissioner General will be appointed in the future.
A former brigadier convicted of shooting and killing his wife while she was asleep in the year 2007 was sentenced to death today.
The murder occurred on the 23rd of November 2007. The shooting had taken place in a second-floor bedroom at a house in Makula, Kiribati. The victim was a 40-year-old woman. The Attorney General had filed indictments against the suspect former brigadier. Gampaha High Court Judge P.S.L. Wickramasinghe, announcing the guilty verdict today, noted that the defendant's guilt had been proven beyond reasonable doubt and sentenced him to death.
The final workshop of the second round of the DSRS Kavya or DSRS Student Guild, which was organized by Newsfirst in collaboration with Eslon, with the aim of promoting water conservation, was held at the Sadathisa Central College in Ampara today.
A group including Group Director of the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited, S.C. Veerasekara, Director and General Manager for Newsfirst, Yasarat Kamalasiri, officials of the Eslon and Zonal Education Director of Ampara, Sunil Gunathilaka, were present for the occasion. 6 schools were granted the opportunity to formulate reports citing how water resources could be safeguarded. Newsfirst and Eslon assured that grants will be provided to schools with the best mechanism to safeguard water.
This program is the foundation to create awareness among students to safeguard water at school level. This program lends a helping hand for students who are vying to create a society for a better tomorrow. The change that needs to be made in societies and the way we do things is in your hand. You are responsible for this transformation. We want to implement this program as water is a natural resource that is integral in the life of all living beings. Water has become increasingly essential. We wish that this school gets all the needed strength to implement this program. Water needs to accumulate where it can sustain. I believe this characteristic can be seen in villages. That is the reason why we wanted to bring the Diyasara program to the villages.
Schools that were selected under the second phase of the program were D.S. Senanayaka College, Mirigama, Tangol Girls School, Ananda Girls School in Hingurangoda, Ussapitiya Rivisanda School and Uva Parnagama Madavala Central College.
Economists point out that the government's interim budget lacks an economic policy that goes beyond mere political promises. This was emphasized at a conference titled "Is the 100-Day Program People Friendly?" which was held in Colombo yesterday.
මේ සමස්ත අයවැය හරහා අලුතෙන් මුළු ආදායමෙන් 93ක් බලාපොරොත්තු.
We will think carefully. If 93% of the revenue that is expected from the entire budget depends on luxury taxes and other charges on companies, can the expected income be earned? The budgetary allocations are targeted at how to gain political leverage during the elections. Where is the manufacturing economy? Where are the policies to use the resources of our country for development? The truth that lies behind the budget was covered by the word relief. Even though you have been promised relief in one way, the same relief later cancels itself out. Therefore, a change in the policy is essential in order to make these reliefs a long-lasting one. Extensive talks are essential in order to discuss the current economic policy and to know the mechanism employed.
ඇත්තටම මේක අයවැයක් නෙමෙයි කියලා කියන්න පුළුවන්. අයවැය ඇත්තටම අපි සම්මත කරගත්තේ.
We can say that this is not a budget. We wanted to pass the budget in November last year. What we did in January is that we proposed possible amendments to the existing budget. If you are looking for a deeper meaning of this budget, then I must tell you that these are amendments submitted by a temporary government.
සංශෝධනවල ගැඹුරු අර්ථයක් සොයනවා නම් මම මුලින්ම කියන්නට ඕනේ මේක ඇවිල්ලා తాවකාලික රජයක ඉදිරිපත් කරපු සංශෝධන කියන එක.
The Minister of Food Security, Gamini Jayavikrama Pereira, says that the government has decided to temporarily suspend the debts of small and medium-scale rice mill owners whose mills are currently closed down. He said that a new program has been implemented to make the closed-down mills operational once again.
According to the Minister of Food Security, there are almost 14,000 rice mills spread across the country and 80% of those mills have been closed down. After taking into account the grievances faced by the mill owners, Minister of Food Security Gamini Jayavikrama Pereira said that a concession will be provided for loans obtained by the mill owners from state banks. Under this program, it has been planned to release new loans for these mill owners to reopen their mills and continue business. The Minister of Food Security went on to say that the new program will be in effect from next week.
A ceremony marking Relief Day was organized by the National Mental Health Council today.
Obstetrician and gynecologists, psychology and counseling, diabetes and dental clinics were organized parallel to the commemorative event. Many who participated in the event today had travelled from rural areas.
මානසික සෞඛ්‍ය ගැන නැත්නම් මානසික රෝග දේවල් ගැන උඟක් අයට අවබෝධයක් ඇති වෙනවා.
The majority of people do not have sound knowledge about mental health or mental illness. When they have been created awareness, then they would know to consult a psychiatrist when the need arises. If not, they will channel a counselor. Therefore, we are attempting to find out how best we can reduce the number of mental health cases by changing their lifestyle and by increasing their quality of life gradually.
ගුණාත්මක භාවය නැත්නම් quality of life කියන එක කොහොමද ටිකක්
Sujiva Senasinghe, the Deputy Minister of Justice and Labour Relations, says development and the eradication of poverty are the only true means by which to combat problems such as human trafficking. He made this statement at the launch of the standard operating procedures on the identification, protection and referral of victims of human trafficking in Colombo today.
Actually, when you're talking about human trafficking, I was wondering whether Sri Lanka is affected by human trafficking. And even though I have seen documentaries and films on human trafficking, I have not heard human trafficking taking place in Sri Lanka. Yeah, and no, because the awareness is not enough. I think with all this enforcement, development is a must. I think development is the only way forward for us to eradicate these problems. If you develop the country, If you eradicate poverty, I think lots of these problems will be solved if you achieve that.
Coincident, recently, the 19th of last month, we passed the bill, Victims and Witnesses Protection Bill. It became a law since 19th last month. This is another piece of legislation which has got blocked for more than 1 decade. But for such a long period, we were not able to bring a single law to protect the victims or witnesses. Up to a great extent, our criminal justice system has failed. One of the significant reasons was there was no protection for witnesses, and
a presentation on standard operating procedures in relation to human trafficking was conducted by the task force members at the event.
TNA parliamentarian S. Yogeswaran says measures will be taken to obtain a clemency for a woman who was arrested on charges of vandalizing the wall art at the historic Sigiriya site. He made this remark while at a sports meet at Sri Ganesha College in Batticaloa.
Over 300 were abducted in 2007. More than 100 were abducted in the northern province after 2008. Most of whom were affected by these disappearances are living without a parent. The one who orchestrated the disappearances are travelling in luxury vehicles. They are cherishing all luxury. They are now the masters of all multi-million worth properties. We are looking into those cases of disappearances. The people are ready to give us accounts as to who orchestrated the disappearances, and they will also tell us in detail about the ones who aided and abetted it. We are ready to bring them to book. Money swindling amounting to millions took place in the northern province. A number of corruption cases were reported in the northern province. We have evidence for it. We are ready to bring it to the open. The audit division of the northern province should present the audit reports from the year 2008 to 2012.
St. Thomas's College took the upper hand on day 2 of the 136th Battle of the Blues against Royal College, but failed to press their advantage and amass a big score. When rain halted play at the SSC, the Thomians were on 182 for the loss of 1 wicket after 66.3 overs.
The Thomian opening pair resumed play on day 2 today with an overnight score of 50 for no loss. Johan Mendes was the first dismissal of the day on 51 runs. Ravindu Kodituaku and Nipun Gamage showed great composure at the crease but did not press the team's advantage and seek to amass a big score. When rain halted play in the 67th over, Kodituaku was unbeaten on 88, while Gamage was not out on 26. Batting in their first essay yesterday, the Royalists were bowled out for 199 runs.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News here at News First. I'm Florin Rajendran.
And I'm Nadim Majid. Just a reminder, you can keep abreast of all the stories we're following here at News First by visiting our website, Newsfirst.lk. Good night and good luck.